back in the day, the news and information in this country was pushed by the big three TV networks and giants like the New York Times and the LA Times. Back then, these agencies were populated with real Americans mostly, and they actually believed in competing with one another. But after the nation's newsrooms were infiltrated and infected with those who have a backward collectivist and left-wing mindset, well, they all began to sing from the same government first, America last hymnal. The news and media revolution continues. That's my focus in today's preamble. CNN published a story where an obviously unfair and left-wing fake journalist denigrated and poo-pooed the idea of having right-of-center reporters having access to the White House press briefing.
These are White House correspondents like you've never seen before. They're part of the Trump administration's push to bring so-called new media into the White House.
We have an individual in our new media seat today.
Cara Castronova is White House correspondent for Lindell TV.
Go to mypillow.com.
Yes, that Lindell.
Boys will be boys, and
the new media outlets have full access to the White House briefing room, where they ask questions like this.
Will you guys also consider releasing the president's fitness plan? He actually looks healthier than ever before. Is he working out with Bobby Kennedy? And is he eating less McDonald's?
I can confirm the president is in very good shape.
Now, I mentioned the CNN reporter was obviously left-wing and unfair. Why? Because he gave one example of what I would classify as a softball question designed to focus in on the president and not our people. But if the fake CNN journalist was actually a real journalist, he would then have included one of the many occasions when so-called trained reporters did the same thing with leftist occupiers of the Oval Office. The CNN reporter didn't. So allow me, as usual, to be more of a journalist than many of these fakes and provide some balance.
Mr. President, during these first 100 days, what has surprised you the most about this office, enchanted you the most about serving in this office, humbled you the most, and troubled you the most?
Now, let me write this down.
Hard-hitting questions, because everybody wants to know what enchants Obama. I think Tucker Carlson has looked into this once or twice before, but that's a different story for a different day. Back to the fake CNN report. We already showed you how the left-wing, unfair, and fawning press handled Obama, not challenging him but kissing his rear end. The same happened with Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. In fact, the biased and left-wing press corps, yes, even CNN, participated in the biggest con ever perpetrated against the American people, the obvious mental incapacity of Joe Biden. They were not challenging him. Rather, they were enabling him to harm Americans by keeping up appearances of competency. Despite Joe Biden falling all over himself, despite his repeated mental lapses, despite Joe Biden admitting that he was taking pre-selected questions from turncoats in the compliant left-wing press, the trained and experienced press didn't challenge him. But according to CNN, that's okay. That's leftist privilege.
Chair of the White House Correspondents Association, a group that has represented White House reporters for more than a century, recently wrote, "For the public to get information it needs to understand and make decisions about the most powerful office in the world, it needs news produced by experienced professional journalists who ask tough questions and produce fair coverage."
But that's something that CNN and other left-wing news sources have not only failed to do, but have intentionally done for decades. Thus, the rise of the new media. Remember, left-wingers in political office and in the press, they can't stand pushback or scrutiny. And that's why Obama or Biden wouldn't allow fair or right-leaning media into the press corps. That's why left-wing politicians refuse to show up onto this program and answer my questions. I, your liberty-loving Latino, and my conservative brethren, we do not allow their narrative over news to go unchallenged. As conservative Tim Pool in the new media seat illustrated perfectly.
Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by two different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on the unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Unprofessional. That's what they are. The response to conservatives' desire to have their point of view represented in the country, in the media, and in the White House has been met with scorn, derision, and censorship. This speaks to the fundamental unfairness of leftists who dominate the press. Their unfairness, insecurity, and dark designs for our people. In short, the left's ideas of winning a debate is silencing the other side. That's all well and good, for communist China. That works well in socialist Europe, but it can never be the standard in America, an America that lives up to our values, that as Americans, our viewpoints are supposed to shape our destinies and guide our government, a government that's supposed to be of, by, and for the people. Folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.